Okay, everybody is throwing a minnow nowadays. Every company is coming out with new minnows, forward-facing, jig head minnow, jig head minnow, jig head minnow. You think it's a fad, or you think it's gonna pass? Well, I don't know that the answer is that easy. I brought the boat. It's out in front of the Missile headquarters here. We got mostly sunny day, mostly sunny day. It heats up this wrap, as long as it's in the 70s, 80s, whatever, it'll heat this wrap up and come off real easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel this wrap off while we're talking about jig head minnows and minnows in general. But as far as I remember, I don't remember a time when there was not a minnow type bait on the market. You know, the Zoom fluke has been a staple for a million years, used a bunch of different ways. I mean, people crush them Carolina rigging as Zoom fluke. They catch them, you know, obviously weightless. You put them on the back of a chatterbait. So minnows, whether it's like a spunk shad or a fluke or a winged fluke or a sakamata, I don't think that's that kind of fad situation is going anywhere. Honestly, I think that is here to stay. I think that we're only going to find more and more ways to use that jig head minnow, and I should say the minnow in general, the minnow craze. And we keep coming out with more and more sizes, colors, and I think there's just going to be more and more applications. I think that a lot of people have figured out that if you take that minnow and put it on the back of a chatterbait, not all minnows are the same on the back of a chatterbait. I've played with it pretty extensively, and that was one of the reasons that I pursued that relationship that we have with Hog Farmer, to be able to utilize the spunk shad on the back. I really feel like that is the best single all-around minnow bait to put on the back of a chatterbait. It is also ridiculously good on the back of a spinnerbait. So is that fad gonna go away? Nah, I mean, chatterbait now is officially more than 25 years old, because some of the early patents have kind of gotten have gone out. So people are able to have that blade connected to the jig head, which is what the original chatterbait patent was. So for 20 years, at least on the pro circuit that I remember, fish have been just chewing chatterbaits. I remember Brian Thrift going to Okeechobee and winning that tournament. He just crushed them. I got some chatterbaits. I've still got some of those original ones in the package. I think that's so cool. Some of those very, very original ones that old Ron Davis was making in his garage that kind of kicked it all off. So for 20 some years, they've been eating chatterbaits. They're not gonna stop eating chatterbaits. Bass have been eating minnows. You put a minnow on the back of a chatterbait, you can put a toad, you can put different stuff on the back of them. You put twin tails, D-bombs, whatever. You can put those on there, but the minnow thing's not going away. The jig head minnow thing has been around since before forward-facing sonar. So to say that the jig head minnow is a fad, or once you take forward-facing sonar away, jig head minnows, if you know how to fish it, now that people understand how to shake that minnow and make that bait dance, people were doing that years ago with a gulp minnow. 3-inch gulp minnow is a big deal underground, East Tennessee. This was like cold water deal, and it was dirty. It was a dirty trick to them. Put an 1/8 ounce head, 3-inch gulp minnow on it, loop knot, 6-pound test. You throw it out there and you just kind of shake it. But what we didn't realize, I feel like, is that minnow was kind of dancing a little bit like that. Absolutely disgusting on smallmouth. That's how lots of tournaments were won, East Tennessee and other areas where you had clear water. And I think now that all the forward-facing sonar, people are realizing, man, they'll bite that thing other places. They'll bite it almost all year if you give it to them in the right presentation. So now that we've expanded from that 3-inch gulp minnow, now we're throwing sakamatas that are 8 inches long, 5-inch wing flutes. A lot of people using spunk shads for that. We got the Freedom Flyer for missiles coming out. That's probably the easiest rolling bait I've ever seen. A lot of different options, and I don't think that's going anywhere. So even if you're not using forward-facing sonar, you can fish it almost like a jerkbait. You know, let's say you have a brush pile or you have a break line, you think some fish are sitting on it, you throw that minnow out there, let it sink down partway through the water column, and then just reel and shake at the same time. And it is a feel thing, whether you're using forward-facing sonar or not. That's a feel situation. You get that right feel of the tempo of shaking the rod and moving the reel at the same time, and you can get that bait just rocking back and forth in that straight line. That's what you want with forward-facing sonar, or just trying to draw those fish off of the cover. They might be on that break, they might be on that brush pile, and they will come up and then just get that minnow, son. I'm talking, it's a lot of fun. So is it going away? They're not going to stop eating minnows, dude. I think all these options, all these, you know, the mooch minnow and like I said, a freedom flyer. There's so many different options now. You gotta experiment and play with them. You know, it's not just a fluke anymore. It's not just one option that's out there to catch them. There's a ton of different options, a bunch of different size options. Guys are realizing throwing these big minnows, 6, 7, 8-inch minnows, those bigger options can draw fish, I feel like, from further distances than a little 3-inch minnow. I think a little 3-inch minnow a lot of times won't even get like a 6-pounder motivated. It'll just, you know, 6, 7-pound bass, they'll look at it and say a little teeny minnow, whatever. They see that big old minnow, whether it's 6 or 8-inch minnow coming and it's dancing around, they see that thing and phew, I've seen it on forward-facing sonar. You throw a little something dancing up there above them, it's like they ignore it. They don't even know. It's the same phenomenon as a glide bait. You know, with forward-facing sonar, I've seen bass down there. You pitch a jig over there, and they act like it's invisible. And then all of a sudden, you throw a clutch boss or a 9-inch glide bait or something over there. All of a sudden, they come out of nowhere. It's like, what in the world is that? And they get all fired up. Same thing with the minnows. The big minnow phenomenon hadn't even really caught on yet, in my opinion. Not for the, you know, for some anglers, absolutely it's caught on. Especially some of the anglers that have been winning tournaments on it, they get it. They know the power of it. But it's one of those things that is going to continue to evolve. Is the minnow phenomenon over? Nah, it's just getting started, man. It's getting started to where it's really blowing up, to where there's a million options. You know, whatever company that you like to be associated with, you want to make sure yours are made in America or whatever, you can do that. There's a bunch of decent options, and some are better than others for other things. Like I think a spunk shad is 5 times better than a zoom fluke on a chatterbait. But fishing it weightless, to where I'm trying to catch, you know, let's say herring spawn fish, I think a zoom fluke is really, really still hard to beat. There's some other good options out there now, but not over top of the spunk shad. Putting it on a scrounger. Spunk shad is really good. Spunk shad is tough to beat on a scrounger, better than a fluke. So, you know, each one has their advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to continue to have I have a whole section of my boat that is nothing but minnows, different sizes, different shapes, different styles, and that, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So if you guys have any input on minnows, what you use for what, drop it down there. Let's all learn together. But yeah, these minnows ain't going nowhere.